All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Hands on Tech Live. I'm Jeremy Morgan. I'm your host for today, and we're going to be jumping right back into our Metar Weather Reader that we've been working on for quite a few streams now. I'm pretty excited about it because we've kind of made a lot of progress, and there's been a lot of input from folks on Twitch and folks in the chat who have thrown out a bunch of suggestions and things like that, and we've twisted and refactored this thing. We've actually got a pretty cool little product. And so today I'm going to finish up on the unit tests for the Metar Reader. So what we've done is we've created this Metar Reader that reads text string weather reports and crunches them into something that's human readable. We managed to put that into a class library. Now we're going to test that class library. This probably won't be a super long stream today, but we're going to try to just kind of break it and fix it. And do that over and over, back and forth like we've been doing. And so I will give a quick intro for those of you who are just getting onto the stream. And let's switch here to this window. And I'm going to do a quick tech check to make sure we are live everywhere we want to be live. And let's see here. Hello, YouTube. Facebook, hello, Facebook. And hello, LinkedIn. Hello, Twitch. All right, that's what I was looking for. So feel free to drop any comments in the chat or anything, questions, things like that. We are going to jump right into it here. Now, one of the things that people ask, like, what are you doing when they've jumped into the stream for the first time? Because we've been working on this thing for several streams. They're like, what is this thing? So I'm going to take a couple minutes and explain what this thing is. So we started this thing, this app, a couple of months ago, it feels like, and just kind of added on things. Oh, and there's build errors from the last time. Let's see if we can run it without build errors. Hello, Pablo. Thank you for joining today. So I am bringing this up here. So the very first thing that we did with this application is we wrote this Blazor app that's what's my IP. So like, what is the IP address of the person visiting the web page? Because of the way Blazor works, we had to make out a call to an API, and that API will spit back the IP address because we can't use server variables and things like that with Blazor. Then we took that and ran it against a GeoIP database, free database that I downloaded, and figured out that this IP is probably coming from Hillsboro, Oregon. So it's relatively accurate. For those who don't know, I live over here in Laurelwood, which is out in the country. It's out in the sticks, middle of nowhere. However, we do have a pretty large pipe that comes into Hillsboro because of all the tech companies there. We have like Intel and Nike and NVIDIA and all these different tech companies all in this silicon forest is what they call it. So they've got a really cool big fiber optic pipe, and then it kind of splits out to the rest of us. I actually have a stunningly good internet connection here, and I live in the middle of the sticks because of all the silicon forest tech companies. Thank you very much. But anyway, so I'm here in Laurelwood. Up here is Hillsboro. That's pretty close. I think that's close enough. And I see, put the links in the chat to click, please. All right, so this one is just running on my local machine right now. We are going to deploy it to Azure here pretty soon so that other folks can use it and check it out. This is just the first part of it. I wanted it to go Hillsboro, Oregon, and then bring up a Google map. And so that was the first thing we completed. Then we dug into this weather thing. And the weather thing was far more complex than I thought it would be. However, that, in my opinion, made things a lot more fun. Oh, the Discord link. Yes, I will put in the Discord link. Really quick here. So here's a quick plug for our Discord link. There we go. That should be in the chat now. And on Discord, covers way more than just this stream. It covers all kinds of stuff with Pluralsight and Cloud Guru. And there's a whole bunch of talk in there about building cloud stuff and certifications. And it's just an awesome, awesome community. I'm in that community also, and I'll jump in and chat with folks. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like it. So anyway, our Metar Reader takes this string. So this string is a text string. It's called a Metar, and it's sent out for pilots. So pilots can read this text string. It's sent out every 55 minutes from a towered airport. And it basically what the weather is at that time within that 55-minute period at that airport. So pilots take this and they read it and they say, okay, I can see that we have winds. You know, this was this particular Metar was sent in that is right before the hurricane hit down in Florida. So this one's showing gusts of 107 knots, which is wild. But pilots will look at these strings and decode them to figure out what the weather's like. So what I decided to do is build a Metar Reader. There's several of them out there, but for learning purposes, we thought we'd build one. So you can put in this text string and get this plain text information, right? So it shows, looks like my airport code is not correct here. That's fine. But it'll show the airport code, day of the month, wind speed, like I said, 67 knots, 100 degrees, wind direction, overcast at 11,000 feet, etc. And so I decided to pull this out and put it into a class library and throw some unit tests at it. And I'm going to release this publicly so that people can work on it and play with it and use it in their own applications any way that they would like to. But we're going to take this Metar text and turn it into something user-friendly and beautiful. So I think one of the reasons my build isn't working, let me hit this again. Let's see why the build isn't working. Yikes. Bunch of test errors there. That's not good. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure out what's going on here. I'm going to try running the tests really quick. I don't remember where we left off last week that would cause this particular error, but that's fine. One passed, one failed. So let's look and see what we've got here. Test airport code failed here. It says R equal expected KXXX actual null. On our LinkedIn, someone from LinkedIn says, anyone else have a blank video? I hear audio but no video. Let me refresh and make sure that our LinkedIn is working. I do see audio on my side, or I mean, see audio. I see video on my side. However, another good place to go is Twitch. So we do like to stream to multiple platforms. However, Twitch seems to work the best every time. In fact, I'm going to check our YouTube stream, which YouTube seems to be working. But I'll drop a link here for our Twitch channel because the Twitch channel just seems to work every single time. Like every time we point at Twitch, it works. The audio, the video, everything is great. So let's just drop that in here. And you don't need a Twitch account to watch it on Twitch either. All right, so what I'm going to do is jump in to our unit test that's failing. Line 54. And if I remember correctly, we were actually running these unit tests. Were we? No, we weren't opening. We were running them in Visual Studio. So we'll go to Metar Reader.test, unit test 1, line 54. It's here. Test airport code. Let's go to Debug Tests. Let's see where we're at here. All right, test parser. We know that works. That's great. Go here, test parser, decode metar, which is the function that the overall function that we're testing. KHIO, we're testing to see if metar 0 is KHIO. Looks like it is. Oh, thank you. This is a cool stream. Thank you very much. I love doing this. I actually genuinely love doing this. I'm doing this for Pluralsight as a part of my job. However, I feel like I can't believe I'm getting paid for it because it's really fun. Okay, so we're basically seeing if KXXXX is in this one, and it is not. It comes back null. So we need to find out why it's coming back null. So that one, I believe, is one that I just changed to KXXX to see if it would work. We'll stop. We'll go into our, get out of here. Now here we have Metar parser. Parse metar, and this is actually the guts, like the meat and potatoes of the entire operation is in this metar parser class. It's probably a little bit bigger than it should be. That's okay. We're refactoring. I get excited when I can delete code from it. Looks like get wind direction isn't being called, which is interesting. It should be called, but we'll look at that. So let's figure out why our test is failing here. Collapsing all these, so we've got our decode metar, and this is where we're really gonna focus our efforts today. Debug tests. This time we're gonna do some step intos. Now this one passes, so we can just kind of skip it because this one says, hey, this should be KHIO. Throw in the metar. Yes, it's KHIO. Now this one is KXXX. This is the one that's failing. So this is one that we're going to actually step into. So if you go here, continue, just to show that we're getting that, that exception. Let's view the details of the exception. We expected KXXX, didn't get it, etc. Go back in here and debug tests again. All right. So in here, we know this one works. We know this one works. This one does not work. Let's go into decode metar and see what's going on. So we have our metar, so we'll create a new metar object here. And down in this window, check the stuff. Okay, cool. Let's just step through. So we're going to take this metar that we can see here, looks good. We're going to split it up by spaces. Kind of all of them. I like NUnit a lot. And MS test. I haven't worked with XUnit nearly as much. Metar count is 0. And that is the length. It won't be as soon as we step through it, but we can see here KXXX. This is what we're testing for. We want to make sure the airport code is definitely KXXX. So now our METAR count's 14, and we start looping through. And basically all we're doing is we're taking this text string, breaking it apart by spaces, and then just looping through each one and trying to figure out what the heck it is. Right now we are at 0, as we can see here. So this actually should get the report type, and that report type should come back as an airport code. Should. So our first bit of testing, if our METAR length is greater than 2, which ours is 4, and the length is not equal to 4, then we're going to do this stuff. And this basically looks for clouds. If it equals BR, it's missed. If it ends with KT, then it's probably a wind speed. If it ends with SM, then it's statute miles, that's visibility. And then we come down here. If the length is 4, it's likely to be an airport ID. So if METAR failed length is equal to 4. We'll step in. If it equals VCTS, that's another 4-character thing. So what we ran into is we first made this assumption that 4 characters is an airport code. And that was the assumption that that we made early on, and it turned out to be false because there's a VCTS for a thunderstorm that comes in, and that is also 4 characters. So we just did a check to see if it's that. It's not. Then we say, if it's all letters and no match, probably an airport code. Still a pretty brave assumption. It's pretty broad assumption, I should say. However, it's turned out to be pretty accurate so far. So now we know it's an airport ID. Let's return it as an airport ID. We go up here, click up. Sweet. Now we're at number 0 again, looks like. That's kind of interesting. So what does our report type say? It says airport ID. So we know it's an airport ID. Remarks are present. Yeah, that's just where we're checking for remarks. We don't have remarks here according to this. So now we're going back up, and where are we at now for our METAR? Now we're at number 1. And what is the window that I'm looking for here? There's the window I'm looking for, autos. So here we can jump in and kind of look at some of this stuff. And so this, our METAR, should be our METAR object that it's putting together. Now, so far we have put KXX in the remarks, so I found my problem. This KXXX should not be in remarks. It should be up here in airport code. So I found my problem. The reason the airport code is null is because as we were stepping that through, for some reason, it dropped it into remarks. So we probably just need to look at the logic a little bit. And since we're in here and we're doing it, let's see if we can find that out. And we'll just kind of step through the code, and I'll kind of talk about what the code is doing and see if I can figure out why it's doing this. If the METAR count is greater than 0, it starts looping through, and we know that. And it looped through, it got the report type. The report type was airport. Now here it says if it's remark, which it shouldn't be, the string we're using, let's see if we can find it here again. In our unit tests, I just have a pile of strings here. This KXX, it does have remarks, but it's way back at the end where the remarks should be. So we set that remarks present true. If remarks are not present, we'll jump through these. So we got to figure out why that remarks present is being set to true too early, probably, because this is where I think our problem might be, is if it equals remark, Maybe I should do a string.equals and see if that changes it. But let's go through it again, just so we can both kind of wrap our heads around this. This one works great, so we're just going to skip it. This one, we have KXX, we have remarks down here. Let's step into this one. Oh, I wanted to step into decode Metar. Oops. And just so everybody knows, I didn't get a ton of sleep last night, so you might see more mistakes than usual. Okay, so we're stepping into decode Metar. This is our test that's not passing. And let's see if we can find the exact point which it thinks it's finding a remark. Here we're at, our I is 0, so we're at the very first field. We're getting a report type. Let's step into that again. And under get report type, start with a string empty. And once again, if the Metar field length is certain, the first 3 match, then we'll do that, but that didn't match. This one doesn't match, this one doesn't match, and this one doesn't match. This one we know will match. So it'll step in and say, if it's VCTS, it's not. Else, is it all letters? Yes, it is. Okay, it's an airport ID. Let's return it and go back to our loop. As we go forward, we can see report type equals airport ID. However, this one I think is evaluating to true. It shouldn't, but Metar data, click on I, make sure Metar data 0. And Metar data 0 is not RMK. And it doesn't evaluate as true, so that's good. That's what we want it to do. It's not RMK. So we'll go here, but we have remarks present is set to true. Somehow remarks present is set to true. So maybe I just need to set remarks present to false as we start out, because I'm not really sure where remarks present became true. So if we step into that, see, it just skips it all over and goes straight to remarks. So we're going to set it to false up here in the top, and I think it's going to fix it. Remarks present equals false. Let's just run the tests. And it passes. So that was the problem. So what I'm thinking is I must have deleted that at some point, because I could have swore that my default was false, but that's okay. So test airport code works. And if we look at test airport code here, let's go back to that test method, test airport code. We're doing Metar 0 and Metar 1. So we're going to duplicate. Let's duplicate these tests, and we're going to go through every single one of these. There's 6 of them. So we're going to do 6 tests. And we will take the airport code that we know exists, like KPDX, for this one. Oops, I'm going to minimize that so it doesn't confuse me. This one, Metar 2, should be KPDX. It's the Portland airport. Metar 3, I don't have all these memorized. That's KLAX. Metar 3. Metar 4, KJFK. Metar 5, KORD, and I don't know how to count because I still have an additional one. Metar 6, which is KMDW. Sweet. Will it work? Let's find out. And it worked. So we were able to go through each of these. We'll do a debug here real quick. We're able to go through each of these and pretty much see that they work. Doing another tech check here really quick. Make sure everything's good. Looks like we're good. All right. Awesome. So as we step through this here, we're decoding Metar 0. It should be KHIO. Yes, it's KHIO. This one should be KXXX. It is. This one should be KPDX. It is. KLAX. It is. KJFK. It is. KORD. It is. And sometimes I do this with unit tests. KMDW, I just do kind of a sanity check, and it is. So that's why this one is passing. And I just noticed that I actually commented out all of the tests that I wrote last week that do this exact same thing. That's fine. So now we have 6 tests here. Let's pull this breakpoint out. And this just tests to see if we're getting the airport code that we think we're getting. And we can do this with each of these elements. That might be a little boring. Let's do something a little interesting, and let's see if we can switch up. We'll take one of these, we'll add an additional one, and we'll switch the order around of it and see if it still finds the airport code even if I stick it in the middle of the string. That'll make it interesting. Because we just assume all the time that the airport code is the first thing in the string. It may not be the first thing in the string. So for Metar 7, we're going to put it in the middle of the clouds. Did that work? There we go. Oh. I'm confused about where I'm at, apparently. Let's do this all over again. Here we go. Metar 7 was Punta Gorda as hurricane approaches. I didn't even realize that we have a Metar 7 that we should test. That's text storage, airport code. Throw that test in there just so we can be thorough. Metar 7 should be KPGD. Metar 7, KPGD. Oops. Ah, see? And we found another thing to look for, so I'm really glad I dropped that in there. This one has a thing called auto. And so auto means it's not manually entered by a person at the airport. It's automatically generated. Auto is 4 letters. So the library is assuming, well, if it's 4 letters and it's not a thunderstorm, then it must be an airport code. But this is yet another 4-character thing that we're going to have to look for. So we go all the way down here where it says if Metar field equals VCTS, then we know it's a thunderstorm. And we return it as a thunderstorm. If it equals auto, then this report type, maybe we'll return it. Maybe we need to create a new report type. now that I think about it. If it's auto, we'll say report type is auto, which will do nothing right now. But maybe we can set a flag or something. Let's run the test now. Now we're good. So what we're going to have to do, I think moving forward, there's going to be a lot of these 4-letter acronyms that come up that we're going to have to look at that aren't really airport codes. However, that one was a pretty easy fix. So we've got all 7 of these things here, and we are going to switch things up. So I'm going to say string Metar 8. We'll throw some comments in here. The airport field is in a different place. Now this one, I don't know how well this is going to work. So we'll see, but this is going to be part of our testing airport codes. And we'll just take this exact same one here. Metar 8, and Metar 8 should be KPGD because it's KPGD, but we're going to take this, we're going to cut it, and we're going to throw it in some random area here. Do we think it's going to work? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Oh, and it did work. It found it. But I don't trust that. I don't trust that it just passed that easy. So we're going to step through it. We'll do that by going debug tests. Oh yeah, I should have set a breakpoint. Now this is the test here. We're going to say testing airport code in different spot. This should help. So debug tests. Let's see. All right. Now we have Metar 8. We can see our airport code, though it is buried in the middle of the string. So let's step into it. Creates a new Metar. Splits it up. All of this is perfectly acceptable. And I is equal to 0, so this is the very first field, which generally we assume to be the airport code. However, in this case, it's not. It's early, Dev. Do you know that a Metar can have an airport code in the middle? I don't think it can. Sorry, only half listening. No, I don't think it can, but I just kind of want to test it, just to throw some weird test cases at it, just in case. You never know. And it does find that 0 is date time. And that's what we want it to know that 0 is date time. It says remarks aren't present yet, so daytime, we store the date time. Everything is good. Then the next one, we check, that is, now we're at number 1. What is that report type? That's auto. So let's scroll up and make sure. Let's go over to our unit test and see what that is supposed to be. And it's right. It's auto. We don't care about auto right now, right? So we just kind of skip through that. And so on and so forth. Number 2. That report type is wind. It knows that it's wind. Stores the wind. Number 3, report type is visibility. Number 4 is thunderstorm. Number 5 is now blank. No report type at all, so it's probably just going to skip through. That does have me concerned though. Let's look at that. We found a thunderstorm right here. Oh, -RA. is another code that we need to look for. So I'm glad that we found this. RA is another one we need to look for in our parser. So here we have if Metar field equals BR, report type is missed. I don't remember what RA is, but we're going to look for it and assign it appropriately. Equals dash RA. Let's find out what dash RA means in a Metar, because I don't remember off the top of my head. And it's okay that you're only half listening. I'm only half streaming. Dash RA Metar. This should tell me here, right? Metar. Codes before remarks. So Metar abbreviations, remarks section will also include begin and end times of weather events. Codes before remarks will be listed as /RA for light rain. So light rain. Perfect. And what we can do in our Blazor application later is we can say, and I'll throw a to-do in here, add this into our Razor syntax. So we need to add light rain in there as one of the things that we look for in our display. However, right now we're just focused on making this thing work. That's the big goal today. Is just to make this thing a little more solid than it was before. So that test works if we put it in there. Let's throw one at the end just for fun. Let's do Metar 9 and let's put it at the very end in the remarks, and I bet this will break it. There it is, KPGD. No reason to think there would ever be an airport code at the end of remarks, but and I don't think we're going to do anything to fix it. I think we'll just see if it's happening. And it still found it. Still found it even at the end of the remarks. Oh, never mind. I didn't test it. Oops. Because yeah, I don't think it's possible for this to find it right now. Oh, that's right. I had a breakpoint set. We don't need that. There it is. There's our exception. Failed because it found null instead of KPGD. So there's really no reason for it to be at the end of the remarks. So we can kind of consider this expected behavior. They're not equal. Perfect. We don't want to try to parse remarks for an airport code because that's kind of an impossible situation. So now we have another good set of tests here. Test airport code was a test method that we found the airport code. Now what can we do here? Let's look for the date, because the date is another one that should always be there. Some of these, like you know, the cloud information, the rain, the weather, all those things are optional, but we want to check for the things that are required. And in this case, we know that the date is always going to be there. So how can we do that? Well, we can do the exact same way that we test the airport code. And here, let's create another test method. This test method test date time. And we'll do the same thing as we did before. Create a new parser. And then we're going to set what we expect to be set here. And in Metar 0, we expect our time to be this. And what we're really testing here, I mean, we're testing the reading of the Metar string and how it's stored, but what we're truly testing is this get report type. Just making sure that get report type, which is actually a pretty key part of this library, this get report type. If this doesn't work, then nothing works well, so it's good. But this is what we're actually really testing is the get report type. So one of the things we could do to kind of refactor things is we can just call the get report type method and throw different things at it. That would be shorter and faster than processing the entire Metar string. However, one of the things about testing, and as you've probably figured out, I actually really like unit testing. I like testing stuff. It's a lot of fun to me. I know that most developers that I've talked to completely hate it. I actually like unit testing, and so I want to do both. Like, I want to test this method, throw some data at it, and say, this should be an airport code, this should be a date time, this should be wind, and do that, and we will do that. But I also want to say, this is the entire Metar, pull this piece out and it should be correct. So we're just kind of testing on top of testing. Let's run this one and see if we are getting the proper data. Test date time. No, we're not. That's great. And we expected this, and the actual is KHIO. So I just need to change this. Airport. We're still going to the airport code. Like I said, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so I'm a little dingy today. Where is our date and time? Zulu date time. It's not null. That's fine. Run tests. And it strips off the Z. I remember that now, that we're stripping off the Z. So that's pretty easy, because we can just strip off the Z here, or we can add the Z here, one or the other. Let's add the Z here. Plus Z. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I think it's easier to just copy and paste. But effectively, it's the same thing. We either need to remove the Z or add the Z so that they're equal. Let's try it. We've got green. It's amazing how a color can make you so happy. Yeah, like I did a project one time where I had to refactor like 1,500 tests, unit tests, and so the green at that time made me so happy to see at the end of the day when I'd spent all day refactoring unit tests. Metar 1. We'll grab that time. Metar 1. And actually, you know, an easier way to do this would probably be... Oh, no, that's going to mess with it. All right. This text taken from Flight Radar. The key thing to know is that Metar reports, which can appear an indecipherable mess at first glance, always follow this pattern, and each block is set up to give information in as few characters as possible. Place, date and time, wind, visibility, phenomena, clouds, temperature, pressure. Keywords always follow this pattern. Yeah, definitely. So that test was a little wacky, putting the airport codes in different places, but it's mostly just to see how well this get report type is working, because the get report type should work no matter where that airport code is before the remarks. But you're right, it should always follow that pattern, so we should never see that. And actually, I'm going to copy this thing. Thank you, Surly Dev. I'm going to copy this and put it somewhere in the unit test, because I think it's useful information. Always follow this pattern, and each block is set up. There we go. Place, date and time, wind, visibility, because we're going to test that pattern just for the heck of it. At some point, we'll make sure that it is following that pattern. So Metar 2. Now I'm just doing silly copy and pasting through each of these. Metar 3. And I don't know that we really need to test every single one of these, but why not? It's a small set of tests. It only takes a few seconds. Metar 4. What's going to be really fun is when we get this library at a place we like it and then drop it back into the Blazor app. It's going to be super easy to work with. A single method call is my goal that just says grab the Metar and then single method call, drop it in there, comes back beautiful and formatted properly. That's the goal that we should hit by next week. No problem. Metar 5. So I don't know how extensive this testing will be, but we'll get it pretty good. Then maybe I'll open source it, and folks will jump on it and be really excited about it. I don't know. It's possible, and maybe they'll refactor it and make it 10 times as awesome as I have. Metar 7. Metar 8. And for those of you who are interested in this kind of stuff, like if you like Metars and think it's cool, interested in like aviation, things like that, on my personal stream, I'm going to build a practice test for the Part 107. So the Part 107 test is something that I'm going to be teaching because I'm a member of a volunteer fire department, instructor there, and I'm going to teach folks about the Part 107 test. So I'm going to take a bunch of Part 107 practice questions and make a Part 107 practice test. So if you're interested in this thing, that'll be on my personal stream, and it'll be cool. So I think I've got everything here. Let's just run it and see if I messed up on anything as I was talking and copying and pasting. Nope. We got a problem. And this is probably user input. Metar 8. Oh, Metar 8's where the fields were goofed up, aren't they? Now let's try it. Run it again. So for those of you in the chat who are watching, what kind of other tests can we build for this? So I'm not going to do the 2-hour stream today or 3-hour stream or whatever. I will stick to an hour, which is what I usually promise, and then blow past. However, what other kinds of tests can we throw in here to make this interesting? We've got here where we're testing date and time. And SurlyDev sent this: place, date and time, wind, visibility, phenomena, clouds. So we're going to check for all of those. But what else can we do to test this thing to make it awesome? Oh yeah, statute miles is an easy one. These all have wind. So we'll test the wind. And a lot of this is like copying and pasting, so people would probably be bored by it, but I'm going to use the same format and we'll just test these statute miles and wind. If there's no wind, I believe it says that there's like 0 KT or something like that. Actually, let's check our I believe our Razor app, or our Razor portion checks for that. Yeah, no measurable wind. That's right. So that makes it a little bit different. It makes it a little interesting. Let's test wind, which is the next one. Yeah. And just as a reminder to everybody, follow us on Twitch. This is where the best stuff is. This is the stream that works all the time. It always works on Twitch. I don't think I've ever had a stream that was problematic when it went to Twitch. I've had issues with things going to Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. And although we love streaming to those platforms, it's not quite as reliable as Twitch. So follow us on Twitch, Pluralsight Live, and that's where you'll see us all the time. Oh, yes, also the cool kids hang out on Twitch. I agree. I love Twitch. It is fun. We're just going to call this Test Wind. And we're going to do the very same thing, except we're going to test this. Now, a way that we could refactor this is probably smarter, is to explode this string. Since we know the fields of this, we could say bar meter string equals I don't know if this actually will make any difference, but now we've split it into a string array, right? And so we could take this. This is the first part that we know we need. Here we're going to decode metar 0. Here we're going to say metar string 2, which should be this one. Let's see, metar string 2. I don't think that actually reduces the code at all. I think it's wind speed and direction that we're looking for here. Yes, Pluralsight _live. So it's a little confusing because there is a Pluralsight official. Oh, I'm still adding that Z. Oops. There is a Pluralsight _official, which is one that we used before. We lost access to it. So we had to recreate a new one that's Pluralsight _live. So you might see one that's Pluralsight official. Yes, it's us, but no, we cannot use it because Twitch support has not responded back to any of our requests we lost access to it, and they haven't responded to any requests to get it fixed, so Pluralsight official is pretty much DOA. However, Pluralsight_live is what you're watching now. Expected, etc. knots. What did we get? Actually, let's just look at a failed test. And under test wind, that's right. We strip off the gusts, and we strip off all that stuff. So we'll have to strip off all of that stuff again, just to make sure it's a wind speed. So this one we could probably just do by report type. We could say if the report type is wind speed, then we know it's good. That way we don't have to duplicate code and strip all that stuff off. Let's see if it's just wind speed here, and if that one works. Because some of these, I don't know if we really want to put a lot of effort into it if we're just going to be duplicating the code that's in the code, right? So if we say, let's strip off the gusts and let's do all that, then, well, that's what we don't want to do that in the test, because that's what's happening in the application. So one thing we could do is not that. Instead of test wind, maybe we can start testing that function. And whoop. Like I said, I did want to try to keep this to an hour today, as I promised, and we're at the hour right now. So I think it's probably good that we end it with running unit tests that pass. However, I do want to kind of beef up the unit tests a little bit, and then we're going to use this library in the Blazor application. So that's what's going to be really cool, is when we can drop that library in and use it elsewhere. For future plans for this application, I'm still kind of not really sure, but one of the things we might want to do is automatically try to find the nearest airport. Might be kind of sweet to go here, and instead of this Metar decoder that we've got here, maybe we pull this data here when I go here and it says you're located in Hillsboro, Oregon. As you can see here, KHIO, there's a Hillsboro airport very near you. Here's the weather from that airport. And then maybe it can go out and say, the next biggest airport is the Portland airport, which for some reason I can't find here. It's somewhere up here. There it is. KPDX, Portland International Airport. It might be kind of cool to find an API that does that and say, oh, you've got another airport here and another one here, and just kind of go through and see. I've got a lot of airports around me, but those are two that I know that are towered airports that have METARs coming out from them. I believe down here in McMinnville is another one. So I'd have to figure out like which is closer, Portland or McMinnville. And yeah, there's the McMinnville airport. So that might be kind of cool to add in that functionality. So we'll probably do another, a little bit on this unit testing, and then we'll get it in there and then start adding some more features, because we all like to add features, right? We'll probably combine this weather into this home page and just kind of make it like a single page type of thing. And like I said, I'm going to put it on Azure websites. I'll do that before the next stream so that folks can go in and play with it and do stuff. But I'd like to thank everybody for joining the stream today. The support is awesome. I love the fact that that I'm not just talking to myself here. There's people actually watching, there's people participating, there's chat going back and forth. And you, the viewers of this stream on Twitch and LinkedIn and everywhere else have actually helped this code a lot, because there's been a lot of suggestions that, hey, why don't you try this? Or, hey, what about this? Or, hey, here's a wacky Metar from here. And so you're actually helping a lot to improve this program, which is how software is. That's how software works. We all know that as developers, that software generally gets better when more minds and more people get in and start working on it. Not always the case, which we know if the wrong people get in there, it can really mess it up. But for the most part, generally, when more people get involved in software, it gets better. And you all have helped make this software better, for sure, which is awesome. So thank you all for coming to the stream. Thanks for chatting, things like that. Are you calling the Metar I got you wacky? Well, that one was actually, Thindle gave me the wackiest one, but yours is still fairly wacky. So it's, but you know, those international ones, that's going to be a big stumbling block for this project, because the international ones don't always follow X pattern. So, you know, we'll make it better. Also, I'm going to throw out another link here for the new people. I apologize, Surly Dev, because you heard this last week already, but we're doing this cloud happy thing at Pluralsight that I think is just awesome. So I'm going to find a good link here for Cloud Happy. For some reason, I'm not seeing it. Oh, and you can definitely find it in our Discord, which we have our Discord link here. So I apologize. There's the link I was looking for. All right, so the Cloud Happy program. What is Cloud Happy? Sounds silly, right? Free certification prep with Pluralsight or a Cloud Guru. So there's a set of 5 different certifications here that you can prepare for free right now with that click that I just dropped into chat. AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner, which is what I'm going to be doing. You can do your AZ900, Google Cloud Digital Leader, HashiCorp Terraform Associate, or Certified Kubernetes Administrator, which is huge. And if you look at these, like over 10 hours of free courses for the AWS, 14 hours of free courses for AZ900, 18 hours, etc. And Kubernetes, 19 hours, 8 hours. So this is not something that I'm just saying because I work at Pluralsight. Oh, this is cool. You got to try this. This is actually really cool that we're just giving out these courses to prep for these different certifications. And it's awesome. And it's totally free. So just click the link there and in the chat. And I will put in our Discord again. Because the cool thing is our Discord has a bunch of people in there doing the Cloud Happy thing. So here is your invite to the Discord. There's a bunch of people talking about their certification paths. These people who have jumped onto the Cloud Happy thing, started taking the free courses, and then they're asking questions and people are talking back and forth. And we have a bunch of cloud experts in there with all of these certifications that also jump in and help. So the Discord is really fun and really cool. Hope to see y'all there. Hope to see y'all next week here on the live stream. And yeah, we'll be here. We'll keep working on this. We'll make this cooler and we'll put it into the cloud. So we'll be cloud happy with it when I'll put it onto Azure. It'll be fun. But thank you everybody for joining me today. Super excited, super stoked to keep building this thing up and making it cool. So I will see you all next week. On Thursday, my coworker David Neal is doing some cool stuff with Electron. building like a quiz type app. And so be sure to check him out. He's at the same time as me, but on Thursdays. And then we are, in the next couple months, going to put more and more stuff on this Twitter stream that's going to be cool. So join us. Join me. Let's get together and make cool stuff. I'm Jeremy Morgan. Thank you for joining my stream, and we will see each other soon.